recording now. Okay, great. So hello, everyone. I'm Alex. I am the City Leader Platform Secretariat of Urban Economy Forum. I'm just going to move across my list here that I see. Ozan, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Ozan. I'm working as a networking and strategic partnership specialist at Urban Economy Forum for the past 2 years, and I'm very happy to be here and pleased to meet you all.
Camilla, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Camilla. I'm based in London and I'm an architect that work on urban design and cities.
Arish? You're mute, Arish. Yeah.
Oh, hi, this is Arash, and I do some photography. My job is I'm a surgeon, but I love photography, and I've lived in Toronto for more than a decade, and that was the reason I was involved.
Thank you, Arash. Arlene?
I'm Arlene Etchen. I work in the Innovation and Partnerships team with Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation.
Deborah?
Hi, I'm Deborah DeLang. I'm an associate professor at the Ted Rogers School of Management and Global Management Studies and faculty in the Environmental Science and Applied Management program.
Sandra?
Hi, I'm Sandra Mercoliao. I work as I'm the executive producer for Bloomberg News, Bloomberg TV rather, in Canada, and I'm based in Toronto.
Danielle?
Hi, I'm Danielle and I'm with Tridel. We are a developer of high-rise condominiums in Toronto. My role, I'm here with my colleague, Bruno Giancola, who will introduce himself, but my role is brand experience, which covers corporate social responsibility. And of course, we put the S in ESG. So really excited to be here as part of the development industry.
With that, maybe I'll just jump right to Bruno. Go ahead. You're mute, Bruno. Bruno.
Hi, I'm Bruno Giancola with Tridel Corporation. Pleased to be here to help along and to sponsor whatever endeavors the group sets forward. Really excited about it. It's a fantastic endeavor.
Thanks, Bruno. Krishnan?
My name is Ananta Krishnan. I'm the Secretary General of Urban Economy Forum. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ilda.
Hi, I'm Ilda Cordero, the Program Manager at Urban Economy Forum. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Delia?
Good morning, Delia Reish. I'm a Development Liaison for the County of Brant and an instructor at Ryerson University for the Local Economic Development Program.
Mitchell?
Mitchell Cohen, President and CEO of the Daniels Corporation. We've been partners with Toronto Community Housing on the revitalization of the first 3 phases of Regent Park.
Vincent?
Good morning, everyone. Vincent Tong, Vice President, Development and Asset Strategies with BC Housing, coming to you from Vancouver this morning.
Kelly?
Good morning, I'm Kelly Skeeth. I'm the Acting Chief Development Officer at Toronto Community Housing.
Saeed?
Good morning, this is Saeed. Work for Unilever, one of the active companies in terms of sustainability. Very nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Saeed. Jose?
Good morning, buenos dias, bonjour, bon dia. I'm Jose Echeverry. I work for York University, where I am one of the members of the Board of Governors, Executive Senate, Senator, and 4 other jobs that have to do with teaching and other things. Love to talk to you about what we're doing at York U with the SDGs. Nice being here, and thanks to Urban Economy Forum for the invite. It's great to see you all.
And thank you, Jose. Frank, go ahead.
Yes, Frank Dont. Greetings from Athens in Greece. I am the Secretary General of ISOCARP, and together with Julie, I am co-chairing the steering committee of the World Urban Pavilion.
Thank you, Frank. Eleanor?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elena Mohammed. I'm the president of the Commonwealth Association of Planners and co-chair of Habitat Professionals Forum, currently located in Alberta, Canada, but soon to be relocating to Prince Edward Island. Nice to see you all.
Thank you, Eleanor. Raman?
Yes, thank you, Alex. Hello, everybody. My name is Raman Kevani. I'm head of the School of the Built Environment at Oxford Brookes University.
Karen, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Karen Cooper from the City of Kitchener. I'm the manager of strategic and business planning.
Reza?
Hello, everyone. Reza Purvaziri, Chair of the Urban Economy Forum.
Maddie?
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you. I'm Maddie Simiatiki. I'm the director of the Infrastructure Institute and a professor of geography and planning at the University of Toronto.
Julie, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Julie Ward. I've been co-chair of Urban Economy Forum from just after the first forum in 2019, and with Frank, co-chair of the interim high-level board for the World Pavilion. And currently, actually, I was a former member of the European Parliament, and I'm currently working for the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, UK.
Joyce, go ahead.
Everyone, Joyce Ho, I'm with Toronto Community Housing with the development team at Regent Park.
Eduardo?
Good morning to all of you and good afternoon from Nairobi, Kenya. Eduardo Moreno, I'm the Director of Research and Innovation at UN Habitat.
Evan, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Evan here, and I'm with Urban Economy Forum and World Urban Pavilion. Thank you.
Christina?
Good morning. I'm Christina Bruce, Director of Policy Planning and Special Programs at the City of Vaughan, which includes the redevelopment of our Vaughan Metropolitan Centre, the new downtown.
Fazila, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to meet you today. My name is Fazila Dadwar. I'm Secretariat of Academic Platform at UEF and the Head of Capacity Building at World Urban Pavilion.
Peter?
Good morning, everyone. Peter Zimmerman with Toronto Community Housing. I'm the lead staff person on the revitalization of Regent Park.
Becca, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ambika, and I'm the Director of Urban Climate Innovations based in Washington, D.C.
Thanks, Ambika. Gurdeep?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Gurdeep Kaur. I'm a Director of Strategic Projects with the City of Brampton, and we're more than happy to be a part of this. Thank you.
Erica?
Good morning. My name is Erica Gillespie. I'm the Director of Teaching and Learning at Baby Glen, an independent school in Toronto, Ontario.
Christopher?
Good morning. My name is Christopher Federico, and I am the assistant head for the upper school and the assistant head of academics at Baby Glen, along with Erica.
Michelle?
Good morning. My name is Michelle Yarnley, and I'm the Director of Global Education, also at Bayview Glen.
Fiona?
Good morning, everyone. I'm also from Bayview Glen, Director of Teaching and Learning at our middle school here. So it's lovely to meet you all.
Corey, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Corey Bloom. I lead the City of Kitchener's Economic Development Team.
Jason?
Hi, I'm Jason Gangaram. I'm part of the UEF for the past 3 years, part of the Academic Forum platform. I'm currently a Director of National Admissions and Operations at CDI College.
Amrita?
Hi there, I'm Amrita Chopra today. I'm representing UN Habitat as well as Douglas Reagan, working as a partner on the programming for the pavilion, focusing specifically mainly actually on the SDG cities and youth programming. As well, Doug sends his apologies. He's just on his way back into the city, so his signal's not very stable. I'm sorry, but he's here with us as well. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Amrita. Zara?
Hi, everyone. My name is Zara Kasim, currently in Kigali, Rwanda. I'm the CEO and co-founder of KUA, an urban planning and design practice, as well as the director of design of the design lab with Co-Creation Hub, the biggest innovation center in Africa. Thank you.
Thanks, Zara. Okay, did I miss anybody? I think we got everybody. Okay, I think we got everyone. All right, we did it. We got through the introductions. Okay, so next what we're gonna do is we're just gonna run through a PowerPoint slide here. And it's this one. Yeah. Just going to, okay, and go big screen. Okay, I hope this disappears, yeah. Okay, so again, thank you everyone so much for joining us to discuss about the World Urban Pavilion in Regent Park, as well as the Canada Pioneer of Urban SDGs. As I said at the beginning of the presentation, this is has huge potential to create something great, something grand, something big for Canada. With our collaboration, I believe we can really do something collectively, together. My apologies, I have a little bit of construction going off to my right here. I hope you don't hear that screwdriver or whatever it is, but I apologize if it is distracting. So next slide here. So just again, you know, our founding partners here of the World Urban Pavilion, UN Habitat, Urban Economy Forum, Government of Canada, Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, and as well as the Daniels Corporation. Just to refresh everyone's minds here, you know, the vision for the pavilion, it's a people-centered sustainable cities that are planned through data, driven by innovation and informed by the Sustainable Development Goals. Just a couple of highlights here about what the World Urban Pavilion aims to do: Urban Knowledge Exchange Hub, a platform that facilitates sustainability, robust evolving space for city needs, global urban network, global best practices, change maker for urban change, and then a space for public participation and inclusion. So just as a reminder, the World Urban Pavilion was announced on November 12th, 2020. Just with some key, some of our, I guess now Minister Marcy Ian, who joined us, and then as well as Minister Ahmed Hussein, who's the Minister of Housing, Dr. Eduardo as well, Ibrahim Afra, who's a community representative, Reza Puvazeri, chair of the Urban Economy Forum, and Mayor John Tory. I think I've gone through that several times with many of you here. Just as a reminder about the organizational structure of the pavilion, so we have the high-level international board, which is representation from across the globe that bring diverse perspectives, expertise, and experiences, and it aims to extend the pavilion's network globally. We also have the steering committee that guides the pavilion at the strategic level and provides high-level supervision of the pavilion's operational aspects and performance. And then as well, the secretariat, which provides the day-to-day operational and functioning of the pavilion. Just some quotes here that we received from our colleagues. From Maimouna here, highlighting the pavilion as a knowledge exchange hub. Minister Ahmed Hussein here, who's looking at the opportunities that the pavilion brings to extend Canada's relationship to the world and the world to Canada. It's a lens in that perspective. The Honorable Elizabeth Dodswell, who looks at who's emphasizing the practical approach that the pavilion takes, which is core for us. And then Mayor John Tory, who is pleased that Toronto can host such a global hub for sustainable urbanization. Just as a reminder, our goals here focus on exchange of knowledge and innovation, best practices and practical examples, urban assessment, networking and capacity building, youth, women, and public participation, and UN Habitat's SDG Cities Initiative is at the core of much of what we do. I won't go into details about that I think it speaks for itself. So what we are here today to talk about is the Canada Pioneer of Urban SDGs. So I would just like to acknowledge and give much appreciation to Dr. Arash Kashfi, who designed this wonderful poster for us, this wonderful graphic to help give more of a feeling and a sense of connectedness as we move forward to engage our close partners and as well as other national partners and global partners as well. So thank you so much, Dr. Arash Kashfi. And just another poster here as well. Okay. Sorry, just give me 1 second here. I have a bar that's blocking my vision here. That's okay. So just what is the Canada Pioneer of Urban SDGs? So it's a national sustainability agenda and a cross-sectoral collaboration for global impact. As I said before, it brings together all sectors of Canadian urban society to create national cohesion on a common agenda for urban prosperity and achieving the SDGs. It's a countrywide model for other nations to follow. So it's paving this way globally on methods and lessons learned, and advocates for best practices and advancing standards to contribute on accelerating progress to the SDGs, as well as it works toward establishing global pilot projects by identifying opportunities and challenges to sustainable urbanization, and works to establish, develop, implement, and evaluate pilot projects for the globe. And then, as I mentioned before, at the heart of the program, at the core of the program, is UN Habitat's SDG Cities Initiative, which is at the core of the program. As I said before, and then as well as introducing pioneers that will play a national and global role to guide the respective industries on best practices and good practices for sustainable urbanization. So just highlighting some of the programmatic goals, a little bit of a dense slide here, but just so we're all on the same page, focuses on actions, guidelines, and approaches to SDGs based on a coherent national model that acknowledges the importance of decentralization. It identifies and develops observable and tangible examples that are characterized as good and best examples, and to enhance the influence of evidence-based knowledge for urban practice. It's also focused on networking and capacity building to coordinate and monitor the work done by various urban networks, developing activities that strengthen the capacities of the cities involved. Create a clear and focused interactions between Canadian and global cities to generate a continuous dialogue and global cohesion to strengthen the international space around SDG 11. It consolidates resources by creating an international fund to achieve SDG 11 and to support approaches to the SDGs in cities and towns. It assesses progress toward SDG 11 in a centralized manner, and then ensures that practitioners and decision makers at all levels, as well as communities, have access to the Pavilions, programs, and such. I'm sorry, my thing's a little out there. Anyways, this slide here is just highlighting where the opportunities are for collaboration with some of you, with many of you here. As I mentioned, one of the main objectives of the Canada Pioneer of Urban SDGs is establishing sectoral pioneers at different scales and different subject areas to really guide and support and progress the work within their industries, within their scales, to establish kind of best practices and practical approaches as we move forward. So as you see here on the left-hand side, we just have some looking at different urban sectors: academia, urban settlements, finance, urban developers, civil society. And as I mentioned, we want to move forward in collaboration with them for urban innovations, guidance support, bring SDG awareness, knowledge and innovation, and establish practical examples. All of us together in this pioneering role creates what we call the Canada Pioneer of Urban SDGs. And through the Canada Pioneer of Urban SDGs, as I mentioned before, it's about creating that shared agenda, that common agenda across Canada that for other countries and nations to follow. So it has that international, that interaction with that international organizations and governments. So we hope that through our collaboration, these pioneers can really lead the national, not only the national level, but also at the global level as they work towards the urban SDGs. So again, just to really hammer home the point about pioneers, so we are working to introduce cities and organizations as pioneers within their respective sectors, pioneer city, pioneer universities, and at different scales. As I mentioned, pioneer city, pioneer town, pioneer neighborhood, and establishing collaborations in that regard. So as I mentioned, urban innovations identify and progress good best practices for sustainable urbanization, brings national and global awareness to and create them as a champion for urban SDGs, guide and support respective sectors for urban SDGs through knowledge exchange, and then establish new models and practical examples. So just what are some of the next steps here? So we see 4 major outcomes as we continue to progress to announce and establish this program. So outcome 1 being organize and launch a global campaign to bring awareness to the program launch itself alongside the Pavilion launch, organize the secretariat in the Pavilion, and then execution of programming. So for outcome 1, we have a timeline here in terms of how we want to engage the global community through this program and through our collaboration. Program announced and running a campaign in that regard now until February 2022. Pavilion launch planned for March 2022. The Quito +5, which is 5 years following the Habitat 3 in April 2022. The World Urban Forum, which is one of the most premier global gatherings for urbanization, which will happen in Katowice, Poland, and that's planned for June 2022. And then, of course, Urban Economy Forum 4, which is our annual flagship program. I don't need to explain that, which will happen again in October 2022. So program launch, we want to announce programs and partners in December 2021, organize the announcement campaign from now until April 2022, and then program launch in March 2022, as I mentioned on the previous slide. Organize a secretariat, so finalize programmatic partners, as I mentioned, December 2021, organize several key meetings with the Canadian government, so Canadian ministers, as well as the Canadian ambassadors and then international representatives. And then finally, in February 2022, organized a meeting with the Prime Minister and the Canadian UN representative. And then execution of programs. So establish the high-level international board, as I mentioned previously, for Jan 2022. Establish the programs advisory committee for Jan 2022. Defining each partner's role, and then establish collaboration between government and financial sector. And just this is the contact information here for the Pavilion as we close out. So that is hopefully provides additional context as we proceed. I just want to stop share here. Yeah. So what I would like to do next is just open the floor to some of our colleagues to share perhaps, I guess, share their perspective. And then following that, we can move to some of our close collaborators. And we hope that you can kind of help build out where there might be some synergies along with your organizations. So first, I just want to move to Dr. Eduardo Moreno. Yeah, there you are. Please, Eduardo, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And let me start by saying that this presentation that Alex made shows very clearly the possibilities, I would say the endless possibilities, that the marriage of the Pavilion, where innovation with knowledge, which best practices resides, and UN Habitat global program of SDG cities. Perhaps you already presented very well, Alex, just to complement 1 or 2 things. And let me start by, again, expressing UN Habitat appreciation for the partnership with the Urban Economy Forum that this idea was created with the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation that is supporting the Pavilion, and of course, Daniel's corporation that was one of our initial partners in this endeavor. And to tell you that as head of research and innovation, the Pavilion in Toronto is for us one of the most important spaces that we have created outside UN Habitat, where the fundamental idea of creating, as this meeting witnesses, a critical mass of people from different perspectives, different knowledge and conditions to work together towards a fundamental aim is sustainable urban development. The SDG cities, it's perhaps, and I have 25 years in UN Habitat to tell you that SDG cities is by far the most ambitious, but at the same time, the most realistic program of UN Habitat. It's a program that we want in the last year to be working in minimum 300 cities in the world in doing a certain number of things that were indicated in your presentation. But I think for the sake of a little bit more clarity, it's important to repeat. It's a continuum, it's a connection of different things. The SDG cities is not only an idea, it's a program that already exists, that was initially the City Prosperity Index or initiative that work in more than 700 cities in 11 countries. And based on all this knowledge and experience, we move to an, I would say, more adult phase of a metric and an indicator to connect 4 or 5 fundamental things. And I will conclude, Alex, because of time. One is that we have an agreed method of monitoring city development, of understanding city growth and conditions, threats, opportunities, challenges, which is the Global Urban Monitoring Framework. This framework has been developed by UN Habitat, all the UN system and partners, and it will be operating not only in the Pavilion and in the SDGs, but all which has to do with the new urban agenda and the SDG cities and SDGs urban in general, and not only Goal 11. Second important thing is that based on the data and the information that is going to be produced or is already being produced in some cities, we will connect to a second phase, which are the action plans that are needed for the city to prosper, which are the qualitative and quantitative approaches for the city to be different, to really to speed up development, to have a qualitative jump towards sustainability, and we will define a certain number of actions. Number 3, we will add a lot of innovation and creativity in cities. We want to work with technology, but we want to work also with institutional, social, community innovations. We like to be in Regent Park because it's community-driven program, and we really support this idea that SDG cities is not born in UN Habitat. It was conceived there, but is born and operated from cities at the community level in creating sustainable local neighborhoods that are gathering all the conditions for development to take at the different stages of growth and this. And the fourth important program is that when we implemented the City Prosperity Index in these 700 cities, we realized that a big number of these cities did not have the capacity or the conditions to implement the actions that were selected. It was a financial capital problem to connect data to knowledge, policy, and decision-making to the final stage, which is to make sure that resources are there. So SDG cities and the Pavilion, we will be working a lot on this fundamental notion of instruments of financial innovation, ecosystems of funding working together, and finally to come back to a monitoring of the SDGs to make sure which cities are achieving SDGs according to their respective history, culture, and conditions. We are not comparing cities, we are analyzing the trajectory of each city, and in this analysis to see how they can perform better towards sustainability. This is what the Pavilion and SDGs is doing, and I'm extremely happy. And of course, I want to congratulate our partners and Reza of the Urban Economy Forum, who is one of the brains behind this, in order to make sure that with all of you, we will have the front running and we will have the pioneering, as was indicated by Alex, at the city, at the university, at the neighborhood level, at the Canada government level, and all together to advance in SDGs. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you so much, Eduardo, and really driving home our point there and expanding on a couple key points in terms of the opportunities for collaboration. I would just also like to give our co-chairs, Julie and Frank, an opportunity just to share a few remarks.
Shall I speak? Right. I also, because I have to leave for another meeting, so thank you for giving me the floor now. I think this is really exciting because what we need is some practical examples. We need some concrete ideas, best practice examples for other cities, because so many people are still struggling to understand what the SDGs are, or people are using it in a very kind of just tripping off the tongue way, but not really getting kind of into the nitty gritty of what it means. So I think this is an absolutely fantastic example to demonstrate really, really concrete work. From my perspective, I think it's absolutely crucial that the gender aspect is mainstreamed across the project, isn't an add-on, and that we really, really focus on youth. And I didn't say in my opening introduction, but my speciality is arts, culture and heritage. And of course, we know how important they are in sustainable cities, in regeneration, and in telling the stories about our cities too. I think that's really important. How do we communicate and use? How do we develop a kind of narrative for communication? So that's it. And I apologize for having to leave early.
Thanks, Julie. Go ahead, Frank. You're mute, Frank.
Sorry. Yes, from my perspective, I am an urban and regional planner, and my drive to be involved in World Urban Pavilion is to make sure that that all what we do and think about change is done in a planned way, not in an ad hoc or piecemeal way, but in a coordinated, integrated, inclusive way. And I think that the World Urban Pavilion can be really an interesting place for reformulating, creating a new planning paradigm, how we should do planning, with whom we are doing planning, for whom, and so on. And I would call it, a sustainability planning paradigm where we integrate all the disciplines. So I think that's really a very high and interesting call. And I see myself just as one of the representatives of the planning community. Eleanor is with us, representing a much larger organization than mine, but we're all in this together. And we really hope to support this World Urban Pavilion the best possible way. Thank you.
So thank you, Frank and Julie, who are both the co-chairs of the World Urban Pavilion. I also would like to give Arlene from CMHC a chance to just share a few remarks.
Oh, great. Thanks, Alex. Well, pleased to be here. I'm here in place of Debbie Stewart, who's normally on the committee, but we're busily working away. Alex has been great with, moving us along. But of course, CMHC has their goals that everyone has a home that meets their needs by 2030. Pretty auspicious goal, but a lot of what we're doing involves innovation and sustainability. So our work aligns very nicely with what's going on with SDG 11. So we're really looking forward to be part of the World Urban Pavilion and of course, this Pioneer Cities initiative. I think we can identify and highlight some communities that are doing some really good work while sharing some of the innovations that we've been undertaking, and hopefully will help us all meet our SDG goals.
Thanks, Arlene. And I do see that we have a couple guests joining us who were not here at the beginning for the introductions. So perhaps if you're just joining us, go ahead and say a nice little hello there in the chat as well. I also would like to move now to Mitchell Cohen from the Daniels organization. Go ahead, Mitchell.
Alex, thank you. Really appreciate the moment to say a few words. I was looking back just before the meeting, and it was October 28th of 2019, just over 2 years ago, that I was invited by Urban Economy Forum to give the keynote address at, I think was your first forum here in Toronto. And within such a short period of time, an incredibly powerful movement has coalesced around the creation of the World Urban Pavilion. So I just wanted to say how impressed I am at the work that that everyone has done, that Reza, Alex, Alec, Eduardo, the entire team has done to pull together all of these people and cities and groups and academic institutions. This is a very, very powerful piece of work. I remember that evening after the keynote, and a group of about 30 people from the forum came to Regent Park. And it really, I believe, was in that moment that people from Urban Economy Forum and UN Habitat understood that Regent Park was such an opportunity to really become the platform from which, you know, the goals that we've just heard could be leveraged, could be projected, that could be really spread globally. So that was an important moment for me, for the Regent Park revitalization, for the city, and in fact, with everyone coming together here, for all of us to really build the kind of resilient cities that we need to in order to, you know, have a world that will be sustainable, resilient, and we all move forward together. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and congratulations to everyone.
Thank you so much, Mitchell, and thank you for the show of support and the kind words. Also, Krishnan, our Secretary General of UEF, I'd like to give you.
Thank you very much. You know, just as Michael just mentioned, 2019 was the October 2019 was the occasion of the first Urban Economy Forum's meeting. There was one sentence added to the resolution by request from a number of participants, that was on establishing the World Urban Pavilion. So the idea that was far away, a far pavilion is coming near. So which I think is indeed would not have been possible without the contributions of people like Mitchell Cohen, as well as CMHC, Eduardo Moreno, and of course, not the least, the visionary approach of Eduardo and the Secretary Alex and others. So to me, I think the Knowledge Management Hub should not be something mysterious, talking about words and things that are not, you know, that's not beyond the reach of ordinary peoples, because localization of the SDGs would be one of the important aspects of the pavilion. That is bringing SDGs to the people, raising awareness, just like we had the localization of Agenda 21 after the MDGs. Now the localization of SDGs would be something important to bring, sort of pulling together the policy expertise by and across sectors, allowing cities and countries to easily identify the expertise available and facilitating a response to emerging needs. So ultimately, you know, to sort of accelerate the implementation of 2030 agenda, which is an agenda that is indivisible, as many have said. The SDGs they are indivisible, even though 17 of them. You cannot, you know, distill one other. That's where I think the indivisibility of SDG, focusing on SDG 11, is something that the pavilion is trying to achieve. For example, sort of if you're looking at SDG 11, you cannot separate from SDG 5, which is on empowerment of women. So I think we need to see how these SDGs are linked by having a focal point of SDG 11 through the pavilion to expertise across the sectors that affects people, that affects sustainability, and not the least coming up at all, if at all we will, of the COVID situation, and to achieve the housing as a human rights, as many have already said. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Krishnan. So with that, what I would like to do now is move into I suppose, the second half of our meeting and hear from our colleagues. A few of you have shared that you would like to share some remarks. So I'll turn to you first. And then anybody else, if you would like to say something, perhaps just give me a direct message and I will put you on the agenda. So first, I would like to just turn the floor over to Jose Echeverry.
Thank you, Alex. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Jose, perfect.
Thank you, Alex, and good day to the amazing group of colleagues, and thank you again, Urban Economy Forum, for all the good work you're doing. My remarks will be very, very brief, and they're intended to follow up on what Julie said. We need to start now putting some very specific things on the table. And what I've done, for those of you that know me from before, is since we met in October 28th, I guess, of 2019, we started this work of creating a physical space, in addition to the pavilion, of course. And this physical space is called the Kiel campus of York University. The map that you see behind me is the fruit of our labor together with the administration of the university and key professors that focus on the Sustainable Development Goals. And now we're in a position where, when it comes to online education, we have a partnership with the United Nations Institute of Training and Research, where we have created a node of that important agency of the United Nations, so we can communicate to the world our online education offerings. When it comes to the physical location, I have put in the chat box the outcome of our work, which is basically to zone the entire Kiel campus, which is over 169 acres, that are being put towards applying the Sustainable Development Goals. I put the link there so you can see it, and I think some of you met the president of the university, our good friend Rhonda Lenton. But this is the fruit of that labor. And the last thing I want to say is I want to invite all the colleagues, some are new faces, some are faces that I know from the past, to interconnect in this incredible journey that York University is going. We're going to make possible in a physical location that it's subway connected to be able to exemplify urban solutions. So everybody can learn from them. And more importantly, that we can create the programmatic offerings for replication. I'm gonna end with one last thing, which is something that I say to Julie on the chat box. This work now that it has been codified by the document that it's on the chat box requires to be showcased. And the showcase that I wanna show you is that we have now a stadium at our disposal that seats 7,000 people. It's subway accessible. And we have 15 acres that you see there, which are currently Tennis Canada's facilities. They will continue to operate doing their international tennis competition. So as a bonus, you get invited to see world-class tennis, but that's only once a year. The remaining 11 months, we are to develop a marriage between culture, sports, arts and entertainment, science and technology, focus on the UN SDGs. And the idea is that all the students of the Greater Toronto area that want to be trained on the Sustainable Development Goals will have a place where things are showcased, where the climate solutions are showcased, where everything that is good about the human race is showcased. And this is gonna be a process of the next 3 years that the university has committed itself as part of its academic plan to develop the Sustainable Development Goals in tangible ways. We represent 178 nationalities, and we want to work with you to ensure that we involve those 178 nationalities and the ones that are missing for the United Nations family to be fully represented. Thank you so much, Alex, for the opportunity to put this vision forward. And I encourage collaboration, partnerships. I'll put my contact information in the chat so anybody that wants to reach me can do so at their convenience.
Thank you so much, Jose. It's always a pleasure to continue to move forward with our collaboration. I would like to turn over to Deborah now, please.
Oh, thank you so much, Alex. So I have a brief presentation that I'll share right now with everyone through the share screen. And please let me know that everyone can see it once I've done this. Oh, I'm disabled on share screening right now.
Deborah, I will open that up right now. Should be good to go.
Okay, let me see. Let's see. Okay, so I hope everyone can see this. It's some green slides. Yes?
Looks good, Deborah. Yeah.
Okay, great. So the following is a presentation that's purely my set of ideas. It's not to be attributed to any of my affiliations at this stage. What I understood from Alex was that we had several goals. And so I'm going to just get to the point because I have some ideas to help us as the Urban Economy Forum wants to develop its pavilion. So what I understood as goals were that we wanted to strengthen collaboration with the Canadian urban sectors, including universities, on the Canada Pioneer of Urban SDGs. We want to establish a clear program with various institutions to work toward practices in sustainable urbanization and align sustainability priorities across Canadian urban sectors, organizations that are excelling in sustainable approaches. So I came up with a couple of ideas to meet these goals. One is to create a Center for Canadian Urban Sustainable Development, a CCUSD, within the World Urban Pavilion. And a second idea was to create an urban sustainable development startup incubator within the World Urban Pavilion. So I'm going to explain each of these ideas. So for the Center for Canadian Urban Sustainable Development within the Urban Pavilion, I would expect it to be in Regent Park. There would be two main aims. One is research and the second is thought leadership. So from a research perspective, this side of the CCUSD develops new, relevant, peer-reviewed knowledge and students who will be influential through their participation in the labor force. So essentially, we're building capacity in the Toronto region, especially, but really, I mean, anyone can be involved in this. This is completely generic. It's not specific to any university or really. The idea is to build capacity so that we have people and researchers and knowledge who will understand and disseminate understanding around the UN SDGs, especially with respect to sustainable urbanization. So for example, at this center on the research side, we could engage with university students via joint research projects, and that would include probably senior undergrad, master's, and PhD projects for degree completion, and publish these projects on this center's website. We could offer prestigious funded postdoc appointments. They could be named as associated with the center and lead the above mentioned projects with university students. Publish journal articles to support academic careers. So usually postdocs are named in their positions for 1 to 2 years. And with the other university students as team members, they could work on projects and develop academic research, and our university partners could be partly, funding some of this and funding the postdocs specifically. And then some professors could be associated with this center who are also overseeing the postdocs. So they could guide the postdocs, but the postdocs would be doing most of the work in terms of overseeing the students because they're being paid through the center. So a second aim of this center would be thought leadership. And this is where, this is a side of the center that promotes the ideas of the center and gains public notice. So this is where those same professors or, additional professors and other Canadian leaders in sustainable urbanization are associated with this center. They can write newsy types of articles about the work of the center and which would be posted on the center's website and published. I publish lots of articles that come out of my research in The Conversation, for example. It's a well-known academic outlet to disseminate information to the public so that it's not as formal as in academic research. We could publish ideas in newspapers and other reputable outlets. We could also write policy opinion articles and speak to the media when new government policies arise that relate to urbanization, and make comments about, you know, whether they are sustainable and how they could be made sustainable, etc. And the same people can oversee the planning and delivery of seminars, social mixers, and mini conferences with postdocs and students, the same ones that are involved in the research, and invite a wide audience, including media, to learn about and discuss the work of the center. So you can see there's a really solid piece of knowledge generation in terms of the research side. And then on the thought leadership side, it's more about disseminating and promoting the perspectives of the UEF and those of, you know, related to sustainable urbanization and overall the World Urban Pavilion. So the second idea is to create an urban sustainable development startup incubator within the World Urban Pavilion. I'm separating these two because one is more, the center is more academic oriented thought leadership, and this idea is more about building capacity from the point of view of developing organizations such as small firms, startups, and possibly not-for-profits. And we've done this kind of work in many incubators across the city. Again, this doesn't need to be specific to any particular organization. This can be built within the World Urban Pavilion, and so that it's generic and everyone from any, you know, Canadian university or otherwise can be involved in it. And it doesn't have to be universities in this case because it's an incubator as well. So this would be an incubator that would reside within the World Urban Pavilion. It would include startup firms and nonprofits that address the UN SDGs. So this would give provide an opportunity for organizations that really want to focus on what I call sustainable entrepreneurship. This is part of my research. And they may have a profit orientation or they may not have a profit orientation. But the point is we would record each startup's impact and success as measured by contributing to a UN SDG. And perhaps it would be focused on UN, you know, the SDG 11, along with economic success. So we would really measure these startups based on their contribution to the UN SDGs. And again, this could be published on that incubator site that is within the World Urban Pavilion. And these startups could become members of the UN Global Compact and also partner with the larger companies that are already UN Global Compact members. This would globalize these Canadian startups because they would also possibly obtain notice with these UN Global Compact. So these are a few ideas. I thought I'd produce some concrete ideas so that we could really move this forward.
Thank you for that, Deborah, for sharing that. I apologize for doing this. And Danielle, I know you have to leave. I'm just wondering, perhaps I'm cold calling you here, but if you wanted to say a few remarks, could go ahead. I know you have to leave at 11, so.
Thanks, Alex. And I don't want to preempt if Bruno's still here, but I am so happy to be here. Vincent, a shout out to you, how it was a surprise. I didn't know you'd be here today, but to the partners at Toronto Community Housing at Regent Park, and also to the great work that Daniels Corporation has done. We're very excited about continuing that work within the community at Regent Park, but also with my colleague Bruno on the journey we are on for pursuing aggressively a greater sustainable ESG framework for our company, and ideally to influence other developers like to partner with Mitchell and the Daniels Corporation to really go for those goals that we've all talked about here today. I just saw Debbie Stewart from CMHC last evening, just at our Alexandra Park with Peter to have these conversations around affordable housing. And while I'm very much focused on the S of the ESG, Bruno is doing some amazing work to innovate and go to that next level of environmental sustainability. So I really appreciate, and I want to thank all of you in advance for sharing your knowledge and wisdom that will help us elevate the work we're doing in Regent Park, as well as across the entire portfolio of Tridel communities. And Alex, I can't thank you enough for engaging us. We really look forward to representing to the best of our ability the initiatives and to carry on the good work that Toronto Community Housing and Daniels has so well established at Regent Park. And I don't know if Bruno's still here.
Thank you for that, Danielle. Bruno, did you want to contribute anything on top of that?
He might have jumped off early, but
okay. No problem, no problem.
We're both going to the same the same presentation, but shout out to Peter and Joyce and all my friends from Toronto Community Housing. Look forward to that work together.
Perfect, thank you, Danielle. And with that, I'm going to move to Eleanor. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks, Deborah, for putting together such a succinct presentation. I'm a little envious, and it's hard to follow after that. A couple comments, actually. The first being, I think it's really important that this initiative focus on a stakeholder group that's often overlooked, but incredibly important to implementing anything, which is the professions. And there's got to be a way, and one of the largest obstacles of getting SDGs off the ground in Canada is that they're so high level, is how do you make them applicable at the municipal level? And there's many professions involved in that, from urban planners, architects, engineers, chief administrative officers, you name it. There's a whole list of professionals that will be able to help. So finding a way to include them as a major stakeholder, I think, is really important. The other thing that I want to bring up from a more global, international perspective is I want to make sure that the group who works on this is very aware, and to caution them from not becoming too Toronto-centric. We have to remember that Toronto, quite frankly, is a baby city compared to the global cities of the world. And the challenges that it faces are common in theme, but not exactly the same. So I think it's important that there be a way that we find opportunities to connect either its sister cities or partnerships to bring in other cities from the world to understand how complicated things are that they face. Not to say that what Toronto faces isn't complicated, but a global metropolitan city, as I said, Toronto is quite small on the scale of those cities. And I think that also ties into the professionals again in helping to make those links and bring in the partnerships and the training. So just two key points today, and happy to expand on that in the future if needed. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Eleanor. Maddie, please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Reza. Thank you, Krishnan. It's just a pleasure to be with everyone, to hear all the ideas and enthusiasm. I think the word, Alex, in your presentation that jumped out to me was action, that this is a moment that requires action. And I think the Pavilion idea and the themes that people are bringing up is how you use knowledge to drive action. And I think the Pavilion serves that venue of bringing people together, bringing ideas together, and really leveraging the idea of the network of all of those who are here, all of whom our organizations are working hard, our organizations are pushing towards the SDGs, and how you build through collaboration and how you drive action. And so I would suggest the programming then, and I think, Deborah, your suggestions highlight this, and Jose as well, that we focus on programming that really showcases but also has channels and pathways that lead towards action. Deborah, I was thrilled to see your idea of the incubator. One of the projects that that I've been working on and that we've now received funding for is for a social purpose real estate accelerator, which will focus specifically on working with social purpose organizations or mission-driven organizations to be able to develop projects that have affordable housing and other social purposes built into them. So picking up on the themes that you highlighted, Deborah, and really aiming at using the resources and capacity of a university and driving towards action. And I hope to reach out to many of you who are in this space because like with the pavilion itself, all of these build on a network and build on an ecosystem. So my suggestion, additionally, we have ideas to display some of the work of various colleagues at the University of Toronto who are doing work around SDGs in the space, and again, tying it together with the community that's being built here. So I think the idea here is clearly very powerful, and the group that has been assembled, which is, I know, a fraction of everyone who's involved in the pavilion, is the people in the room. I would also encourage us to think of those with lived experience, and that was showcased beautifully at the conference in October. And I think we should continue to put front and center those with lived experience, to put them in conversation with the professions and with the experts who are often engaged in decision making, and use the pavilion as this space of collision where we learn from different perspectives and drive the actions that are going to be needed going forward. So I'll leave it there and really look forward to working with everyone on the pavilion as it goes ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Maddie. And Vincent, please go ahead.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, just really briefly, really excited to be included in this discussion. I think the pavilion provides a really great opportunity to showcase some real innovations around the SDGs, both in Canada and of course around the world. To Eleanor's point, I think, you know, coming from Toronto and now kind of having the BC experience, there is, I think, an opportunity to showcase some innovation that's that we're seeing across the country in terms of affordable housing and in terms of meeting the SDG goals. I think there's an opportunity to kind of showcase real projects and start and kind of take a look and see how they're contributing, how well they're working. Maybe areas that, you know, looking back, they're you know, that there are areas of improvement. In BC, for example, for those that aren't aware, we've been dealing with a number of climate change crises this past year. We had the heat dome, then we had bomb cyclones, and now we're having atmospheric rivers. And so prior to all of this happening earlier in the year, BC Housing and partnered with the City of Vancouver and the Vancouver Affordable Housing Authority on an innovative project called Vienna House. And that is a 6-story wood frame mass timber passive house project that's being built. It's affordable housing and trying to use really innovative technologies to meet, you know, building resilience to address climate change. You know, the province is also partnering with the village of Lytton right now on a rebuild of the town that burnt down this past summer. And so we've been meeting regularly to see how rebuilding of that town can, you know, can be done in a way that meets climate change, especially as the interior of BC continues to experience really extreme heat in the summer. There's also an opportunity to showcase some of the other projects that, you know, for example, BC Housing is working on that meets the SDGs. For example, we have the Women's Transitional Housing Fund right now that goes towards funding housing for mainly homeless women and children. It provides multi-stages, so you know, people coming from the streets, and then they can transition into some self-contained units for more independent living. And so we're building about 705 of those units across the province right now. We also have the Indigenous Housing Fund that supports affordable housing on and off reserve. And through that program, we're building 1,200 units across the province to meet those needs. And also, we're also partnering with many nations across the province, such as Simiquayela, which is a 200-acre redevelopment on the border of Coquitlam and Burnaby, where we've entered into a memorandum of understanding with the Coquitlam First Nation that really kind of is a model in terms of how public sector entities can work with First Nations communities with a shared decision-making process. And then finally, I'm just going to touch on the Community Housing Fund initiative that BC Housing has, where we're building about 14,350 units across the province right now. It's a $2 billion investment from the province over the next 10 years. And really it's about mixed housing, where we're funding projects that provide, we say 20, 30, 50. So 20% at shelter rate housing, 30% at rent geared to income, and 50% affordable or low end of market. And that's kind of what the province sees as a priority moving forward in terms of its investments in affordable housing. And also I'll touch quickly on our hotel acquisitions to respond to the COVID crisis, where British Columbia purchased about 1,150 hotel rooms across the province as a short-term measure to provide COVID isolation spaces to the homeless population in the province and to get people out of tent encampments across on the streets into shelters, and to also alleviate some pressures in the shelter system. But where the opportunity lies is, what do you do with those hotel rooms post-COVID, hopefully post-COVID sometime in the near future, but also, what do you do with those hotel rooms once there isn't a need, and what are the opportunities for redeveloping those properties into affordable housing? Because BC Housing and BC recognize that hotel rooms aren't a sustainable long-term accommodation for people, and so there's an opportunity to see how we can reinvest and redevelop those properties. So those are some examples of projects that I think could be showcased as part of the pavilion.
Thanks, Vincent. A number of clear examples, practical examples, for sure. I'm wondering if our colleagues from the city of Kitchener, Corey, if you perhaps wanted to jump on and share anything. Perhaps I'm putting you on the spot at this point.
Thanks. Thanks, Alex. My mic has been troubling me all day. Is my mic working?
You sound great. Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. So we're obviously the SDGs has been a prime focus for our council and our mayor in particular for really since their inception. So the two bodies of work that we're most focused on, one is the next sort of citywide, pardon me, I'm choking for a second.
Sorry, Corey, we can come back to you if you need a second.
Yeah, I think I may need a glass of water. Yeah. I'll come back to you in 2 seconds.
Take a second. We'll go to another individual for the time being. I hope you're okay, Corey. Okay. With that, Are you okay, Corey? I muted you.
I think I'm good now. Sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, so the first thing we'll be launching next year, so every 4 years to match our council cycle, they develop a corporate-wide strategy. And we're coming up to the end of the current term. It was the first time they really tried to embed the SDGs into their body of work and their priorities. But looking forward to their next 4 years, they really want to lead from the SDGs, as opposed to the kind of figuring out how the work reflects the SDGs, but really from an SDG forward approach, and hoping that can be a model for other cities to take a similar path. And then the other area we're aggressively looking at, is great to hear from others on the call looking at opportunities for business incubation. We're probably about 12 months down that path and hoping to actually launch a similar facility next year. For those that are familiar with our region, Kitchener-Waterloo is well known as a leading tech innovation and incubation community. So looking to take the models that we know work really well in our community for tech and seeing how we can apply it to purpose-driven entrepreneurs whose focus would be heavily focused on advancing SDGs and using business as a tool for advancing those. So certainly be interested in connecting with the others on the call who are looking at the same ventures as we continue to develop them simultaneously, and hopefully there'll be opportunities to collaborate down the road.
Thank you so much, Corey. I do see that Mitchell just raised his hand. Go ahead, Mitchell.
Just very quickly, I wanted to say that we're actually creating a community-based entrepreneurship hub as we speak in Regent Park. It'll be directly adjacent to the World Urban Pavilion. So lots of opportunities to collaborate with your team in Kitchener and others about, developing this kind of demonstration or a model of a kind of hub that is going to encourage, support local entrepreneurship. So I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Mitchell. I'll maybe connect offline and we'll see where the conversation goes. Appreciate that.
That would be great, Corey. Thank you.
Thank you. Eduardo, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm very interested in what Corey and after Michelle mentioned. And I would like to add something in if you give me 1 or 2 minutes, because it is connected to what you're saying. We produce a study, which is a database that is called City IQ, which analyzes what cities in the world has done to respond to COVID. It's 1,700 cities that we analyze in the world. How they were before the crisis of the pandemic, how they were affected, and what kind of responses they instrumented. And at the very beginning of this conversation, I heard several voices. Judy, for instance, talking about the importance of best practices. And to tell you that this study that is called Cities and Pandemics found something extremely interesting that strongly connects with what Corey and Michelle mentioned. The cities in the world that were more effective to deal with the pandemic were those cities that created localized neighborhood responses. In other words, the unit of the response was at the very ecological, sustainable neighborhood level, from which they elevated to other levels of government that could be the district, the city, the metropolis, and even the government itself at the national level. And these local responses that COVID is teaching us that they work as the best practice for a post-world with pandemics of a new normal is exactly what the SDGs and what Corey and Michelle mentioned, is that we want to come back to these basics of community work and understand that these communities hold the key for a sustainable development in the future. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Eduardo. I'm just wondering if maybe Camilla would like to make a few remarks.
I've put a few comments in the chat box. I mean, I'm really interested in listening to all this. I think, the gender issue is a really important one. So actually just thinking about the fact that 50% of the population is female, and in so many cases, it is very difficult for them to participate. So understanding that. And another comment I put in, which just occurred to me from listening to everybody talking, is that what I've experienced a lot in my career is the gap in aspirations of the different sectors. So professionals, practitioners, politicians all have different agendas and very often find it very difficult to talk and to compromise and come together in a productive way, because it tends to gender sort of polarized opinions. So I'm thinking about sort of one of the SDGs, I forget which one it is, towards the end, is about partnerships. So I think that aspect is something that the Pavilion could really do a lot of useful work on, because I think it's very much unresolved. I don't think I've got anything further sort of to add at this point. I'm enjoying listening to everybody.
Thank you so much, Camilla. And as well, the city of Vaughan is with us. I'm wondering if Christina would like to.
Yes, thanks, Alex. I'm really enjoying the discussion today. And for those that aren't aware, the city of Vaughan is located in Ontario, just north of Toronto. We are a small municipality, really 340,000 people, perhaps, so small on a global scale, but actually growing very quickly. So similar to Kitchener, we have a 4-year strategy established by our elected officials, of which we then use some indicators linked to the SDG to measure the success over the 4 years. Where I think that we want to learn from others, and I like the comment that was made earlier about not looking at Toronto in isolation. Too often in Ontario, I would say we link ourselves with other municipalities, and we're losing the opportunity to learn globally. So really, that's what I think this important initiative will allow us to look at successes elsewhere, learn from each other, and we can only accomplish this on a global scale, not within our own municipality, of which we too often get focused on. So some of the particular areas that I will be exploring in Vaughan, we're building a new downtown, the Vaughan Metropolitan Center, which I think I've had the opportunity to speak about here before, as well as our mayor. And we are really focusing on what we like to call attainable housing, actually kind of moving away from calling it affordability, because that's a tough one to define. However, how can we open up opportunities, housing options for everyone, especially as we build our new downtown? We want that housing mix, and with prices rising and land prices, really, it's becoming unattainable for young people to stay, and a diversity in housing options as opposed to just large towers. So really that's where our focus is, as well as balancing complete communities as we build this downtown. So my role at the City of Vaughan in policy also allows us to work towards creating the policies to help move this forward. So I hope with the group here today, I can learn some stuff to help Vaughan, as well as to take advantage of some opportunities as we move forward. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Christina. I do see we have a couple hands raised, but before I get to that, I just want to give Raman a chance to share some remarks. Go ahead, Raman.
Thank you, Alex. I have been, like Camilla, really enjoying listening to everybody. It's great to see so many colleagues, and also raising really important points, particularly around partnership working, which is critical to this. A couple of things that I think colleagues mentioned, which I particularly like to perhaps focus on a little bit, was one. Eduardo's mentioned the study, which in terms of COVID response from UN Habitat. This is really good. I've had a quick look online, but it is something that I think in terms of for us and generally in terms of getting more information on that and maybe becoming involved with that, I think this will be it's a great resource, and it's something that certainly as an academic institution, we would like to get more closely involved with those kind of initiatives. So I will be contacting you, Eduardo, separately as well, to see how we can contribute to this. But also there was again a talk that was given by Deborah, which she mentioned actually the possibilities for various initiatives in connection with the current sort of platform that we are discussing, which was I think you mentioned the possibility of various research activities and fellows and maybe some professors and so forth, as well as startups and these kind of things. Again, these are really great initiatives, and we would certainly be very open to looking at, again, having some forms of collaborations with you. Of course, in Oxford, we have, we ourselves are involved in a lot of work in relation to the Sustainable Development Goals and urban sustainability activities more generally. But as well, we have, looking at the experiences in the UK and in Oxford as city. Again, these are the sort of things that we can share and hopefully develop sort of relationships and partnerships around those kind of things. Those are just the two main points that I just wanted to perhaps expand on a little bit. But again, Deborah, if we'll see how these things develops, but we look forward to sort of being able to work more closely with you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ranan. Mitchell, go ahead.
I just wanted to, comment on a couple of the comments of a few moments ago. Totally appreciate that Toronto is a young city and comparatively to some urban centers, relatively small. But I just want to reinforce what Eduardo was talking about in terms of learning and action at the neighborhood level. And that again is really why, one of the primary reasons why the Urban Economy Forum and UN Habitat chose Regent Park. We really have some incredible partnership demonstrations, public-private partnership, also involve not-for-profit, the foundation, the philanthropic sector. And we'd be happy to share those with, people from Kitchener, Corey, your team, and Vaughan, and others, because I think that's really part of what we're trying to do is really project some of the very real world, real life experiences in this mixed income community with other cities, neighborhoods around the world. So we're very open to talking about some of the things. Public-private partnership, for example, that created a 60,000 square foot cultural center, or a public-private partnership that created athletic grounds where there were no athletic grounds, no means of active recreation in the community. So that micro demonstration are things that can be duplicated, replicated, and scaled in communities really across the globe, and we're happy to share our experiences at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitchell. And I see Krishnan's hand is raised as well.
Thank you. I just wanted to also comment on a few of the very inspiring remarks that have been provided during this meeting here. One is, of course, the Pavilion's role in thinking and acting locally in Canada, as well as doing so globally. So there, I think, Eleanor's comment on Global South, because Global South is something that that is somehow, has to be incorporated in our design and way of doing things. With the using Pavilion and the Canadian sort of focus, we should also be able to sort of expand the outreach to global cities, cities in the South, where Canada, for example, has a feminist international assistance policy that seeks to eradicate poverty and build a more peaceful, inclusive, and prosperous world. So if Canada is believing in that, we need to say how this is being built. So Pavilion as a knowledge hub should be able to say, where is Canada succeeding or not succeeding in doing so, through its foreign policy, in assistance, in providing sort of a sustainable urbanization solutions, also focusing on gender, which is their major focus on foreign policy. That is something that would be important. And also Canada, along with Germany, has been interested after COP26 to look at climate financing. So climate financing is linked also to cities because that's where most of the people are living in the world. So cities don't have much financial capacity, financial clout, and cities are unable to access climate financing directly from international funding agencies. That's where I think Pavilion, with important minds coming together to see how this can be done in trying to see sort of climate finance as an important aspect of sustainability, sustainable urbanization in the global South as well as in Canada as well. That's something that needs to be looked into in the course of the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. And I see Corey has his hand up. Go ahead, Corey.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I was just going to respond to Mitchell's comment because you tweaked a thought of me. And so one of the things that we're doing as a city, we've got an aggressive economic development strategy where we intend to invest about $110 million over the next 10 years in economic growth. But interestingly for us, a very difficult time for us to be raising taxes and leveraging debt to fund that. 80 million of that is going to come from land that we own that we're able to sell and work with the private sector on public-private partnerships. And so it's all to say is I'll be intrigued at your experience of, you've obviously been a leader at what you're doing in Regent Park. And I think there's an opportunity for other cities to, and not just major cities like Kitchener, Vaughan, or Toronto, but other cities to figure out how do they leverage their land as a tool for both growth and the creation of new community assets that can serve a greater purpose. So just again, appreciate you tweaking that idea, and again, I think we'll lots to follow up on.
Totally look forward to doing that with you, Corey, and any team members at all. Thanks.
Excellent. And can I call Sandra to share some remarks?
Sure. I just want to say that I've been, I've loved listening to everyone's ideas, especially the concrete ones. The incubator ideas are incredibly exciting to me. The women equality, how to get more women involved and participate in the pavilion and in its development as well. That's something that I think is very, very important. I also want to say that I'm very excited to be part of this and to be sitting in a room with so many, incredibly intelligent and influential people, and who are trying to do something and make this world a better place. And I think I'm very excited to see and try and push and get, Bloomberg Philanthropies and the Bloomberg brand as a partner on board, and working with Mitchell and Reza and Evan and Alex and all of you guys. I would love to, take this discussion offline as well and see how we can push that forward.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Sandra. Very, very, very much looking forward to moving forward. I would like to have Bayview Glenn share a few remarks. I know our point of contact, Jesse, has been in and out of the meeting with some challenges. I'm wondering if some of the other Bayview Glen colleagues would like to share.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. I guess I'll speak on behalf of Bayview Glen. I'm the Director of Global Education. And as an educator in a global network of Round Square schools, I have the privilege of collaborating with young people around the world on their ideas for advancing sustainable development and realizing the SDGs in their cities. From this work, I bring a message of hope to the group. Our young people have innovative ideas and are ready to take action. And so I look forward to a collaboration with the World Urban Pavilion to engage our students in these real-world experiences that develop their understanding and also guide their imaginations. So thank you to everyone in the group. It's been really inspiring listening to the real-world work that is happening.
Thank you for that, Michelle. I do see Mbika has her hand raised, so go ahead, Mbika.
Hi, Alex. I just wanted to build on Anantha's point about climate finance. I think, we find there are a lot of really innovative multi-stakeholder partnerships that are able to finance, climate action plans in the South. So we need to look at some of these partnerships between, cities in the developed world and the developing world. And also we need to look at these partnerships between the private sector and with cities in the developing world. And those are already taking place.
Thank you for that, Mbika. And Fazila, please go ahead.
Thank you, Alex. I also enjoyed to listening to very excellent comments and points that my colleague raised here. Just I wanted to mention that following the speak of some participants here that mentioned that gender equality and women are very important to be included in our program. I'm happy to announce that we are going to establish a new program under the name of the Canada Women and Urban SDGs. Due to the importance of women and gender equality and based on our mandate to make cities inclusive and sustainable, and based on our goal in the World Urban Pavilion, we decided to define a program under umbrella of Canada Pioneer of Urban SDGs at the World Urban Pavilion. This program provides the capacity to establish a secretariat for women by collaboration with Ministry of Women, Gender Equality and Youth of Canada. It will link SDGs 11 to SDGs 5, and through this program, Pavilion will foster partnership between women's organizations, civil societies, and local governments to encourage cities to integrate women and gender in their program. We will really look forward to hear from you and to improve this program, and we will be happy to hear your great points on this regard. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you for that, Fazila. I see Doug is sharing a number of comments here in chat. I know he has some voice issues. Did any of our colleagues, Doug perhaps, or Shamarki from UN Habitat, want to share any comments? I see Shamarki unmuted himself. Go ahead, Shamarki.
Thank you, Alex. Just wanted to chime in and just to say that I'm truly inspired by all the comments today, and happy to hear the progress that's been made so far with the Urban Pavilion, and really excited about the work. I think the presentations today were very concrete, recommendations, and I think, you know, just wanted to pick up on Deborah's presentation a bit. I think what Deborah presented really is putting, or the proposal to put the Urban Pavilion on the map as a center of excellence. And I think that's something worthwhile and worth aspiring towards when you look at the diversity and the many things that Canada has to offer in terms of the Urban Pavilion and some of the work that's being proposed. I think it's a great, it's a great proposal. And I think the comments around the Global South, Global North cooperation, I know at UN Habitat and Eduardo perhaps would like to chime in, but there's a vision to, again, kind of learn from these centers. I think there's a proposal in Mexico, there's a proposal in Malaysia as well to kind of set up a similar pavilion. So I think there's a great opportunity to link up and learn from each other, similar to what's being proposed here. And I love the facilitation that the Urban Economy Forum has been able to do. You know, I've been hearing a lot of connections back and forth between the different municipalities across Ontario's kind of linking up. A little sad as an Ottawa, as a hometown Ottawa boy, that Ottawa is not represented in the call, but I think they are formally engaged, and would be great to get more cities across Ontario and across Canada engaged. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Shamarki. And yes, City of Ottawa is very much engaged in our work in various capacities. But before we, I suppose, move on to the next and final chapter of our event here, I just want to turn it over to the floor. Is there anybody else who'd like to share any, maybe somebody who did not have an opportunity to speak? I give the floor to you now. I don't mean to cold call, or maybe I do mean to cold call. Delia, we've been collaborating for some time. I'm just wondering if perhaps you would like to share a couple remarks.
Just a thank you to everyone. This learning experience is tremendous. And I have reached out to a couple of the members individually to try to see how we can incorporate at a smaller urban center that as for Brant County, but also bringing this information back to the Economic Developers Council of Ontario and keeping them up to date with what we're doing is very valuable, and they appreciate that as well, Alex.
Awesome, excellent to hear, Delia. Is there anybody else who would like to share some remarks before we move on to the next?
Hi, Alex. Yeah, I possibly can. Hopefully my Wi-Fi will hold. Apologies for that. Yeah, and I'm just, in terms of that, I mean, I'm just on a train from Mombasa to Nairobi, where we just completed an SDG cities training, specifically with young people in Mombasa who are going to be undertaking data collection on the urban monitoring framework and such. And this, I think, is an example of a lot of the programs we're rolling out. And again, this great support of the Urban Economy Forum, Pavilion, Reza, and Eduardo. The possibilities of really amplifying best practices in the global south and the global north, I think, are really key. I really, Mitchell's, imperative to ensure that Toronto is engaged, I think, is critical. I mean, this is the World Urban Pavilion in Regent Park, and we have to make sure that we reflect the needs and the aspirations and also the concerns of the Regent Park residents. I think that Regent Park is similar to many communities across the global north and globally that are facing huge issues following the pandemic, and faced huge issues previous to that. And so I think we need to make sure that we have those communities on board, but as well, as I've put in the chat, and the sister neighborhood program that we're putting together as piloting that, is to really try to link up the different communities globally and the different cities globally, so that we can come up with some common solutions, even though sometimes the scale may be different between an informal settlement in, say, Mathari, which is represented in the links that we're sending, or the Regent Park. They may be different in many ways, but they're also very similar. And one of the big similarities, of course, is young people. Young people represent huge percentages of the urban poor in the global north, but as well, and especially in more marginalized communities such as Indigenous communities, but as well in the global south, it's even more significant. Up to 70% of the population is under the age of 30 in many countries in Africa. So we have to build into them. And they're also, though not health-wise impacted by the pandemic, emotionally, mental health-wise, and jobs and education have taken a major hit for these populations, so we need to work into them. So, and that's more, if we look from an intersectional lens, that's not just youth, it's also young women, the LGBTQ community, Indigenous young people, Indigenous women. We have to look at those many different groups. So I really hope that the Pavilion can fulfill that dream and mission of leaving no one behind, which is what the SDGs calls us to do. And also from UN Habitat side, leaving no spaces behind. That space, spatial inequality is just as serious as social inequality. They go hand in hand. So this is, I think, an amazing initiative, and hopefully we can build on it. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Everyone heard me for the 10 minutes. I heard a few minutes I spoke.
It was perfect, Doug. Thank you so much. I do want to just make sure I give these last few individuals some time to speak just before we move to our co-directors of the Pavilion, Reza and Eduardo, to close out the meeting. Before I go to Krishna and Cameron, did you have any comments you'd like to make?
Yes, yeah. First of all, thank you to all of the people sharing the information and comment. I'm going to say the World Urban Pavilion, it's the new page of the conversation between the innovation, technology, and the SDG. That's the biggest steps. I think it's for the create integration between that technology with the SDG cities, specifically for collaboration, for all of things, and for urban assessment inside the systems, everything. And then everybody mentioned about that one. thank you so much for share all of information. Thanks.
Thanks, Cameron. I'll go Krishna and then Eleanor and then to our close here. Krishna, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention here that we talked about urban professionals, architects, planners, community organizations, gender, etc. One important stakeholder in the urban context is the financial institutions as well as private sector. So I suppose, as much as we like or don't like private sector, it's important that they are brought into the fold. There was one comment about the global compact in that context. So we need to somehow to see the private resources are somehow made available at the local level in the plans of cities and towns, so that it is not going in the tangent of the plans that we have. That's why I think private-public people's partnership is something that we look into, also in the context of SDG 17, which focus on partnerships. As the saying goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So the success of Pavilion will depend on how we are able to harness partnerships, across, within Canada and elsewhere, across professions. Then I think we will succeed. Otherwise, there's no point in sort of doing it alone and excelling oneself alone. Then you may go fast but not reach further. So that's why I think it is important that the people gathered around the table here are able to bring in more partners into the fold, and how we expand this partnership and collegiality in an action-oriented fashion. I think it's important. It's a good start that we have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Eleanor, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say up front, like what I said about Toronto, I'm from the Toronto area, so please don't take it as insulting my comments as some like Westerner like commentary. I just wanted to say that I was lucky to travel about a month ago, which I feel so fortunate. I was out in Doha, Qatar. And really the basis of my comments is they are doing some wildly useful things in their city, and things that are so basic. It takes us back to basics in terms of adapting to climate change and adapting our environments to incorporate our different cultures and creating great cities. So where I'm really trying to go with this pavilion, and I see there's a lot of projects going on already. I really want to make sure that we find a way to invite those best practices from other places that Canadian cities can learn from. So it's not just a one way of, hey, we're doing some great things in Canada in the developing world or the developed world and so on and so forth. Because historically, that's how the world has worked, and we want to stop doing that. Instead, we want to be able to learn from each other and incorporate the great things that are going on globally. So for me, really, it's a perspective thing. And that's all I'm getting at in the end. I wouldn't want this group, which is filled predominantly with people from Canada, to become their own echo chamber of greatness. Instead, I want other voices at the table globally to provide those different perspectives and the great things that are going on in their respective cities that we just don't hear about here, because for some reason they're drowned out. So that's all I'm really trying to get at. And it's wonderful that there are pavilions going into places like Malaysia, but Malaysia also is another incredibly well-funded country where their planning is at the forefront. So I want to hear from other places that we don't hear from as often, that have incredible solutions that we should be paying attention to. So that's the root of the basis of my commentary, not to make Toronto feel small. So I just want to be clear about that. Thanks.
Thanks, Eleanor. Reza, I'll turn to you now, and then we can go to Eduardo.
Thank you so much, everyone, for time. It's almost 2 hours, but we need to spend this time for future, for our world, for our planet. And based on the situation, world have a delay. We need to correct as soon as possible. It's extremely delay for change, and we need to make sure we are in the correct way, and we need to encourage each other and spend time. It's not just about talking. We need to do some things as soon as possible. I faced with some news during the COP26. It was horrible. All of us, I'm sure, as urban activists, we're shocked based on some figures that share with us. But we are not able to inform to the audience, to the people, to the people, all the people. We need to create kind of awareness in this regard. And this is not a kind of official meeting, it's just internal meeting with our colleagues, our partners, our teams. I believe we are at one of the fundamental level for establish something really important for the world. We said Canada, a pioneer of urban SDG, because we are in Canada and we see our country have opportunity to make some interaction with the world, speak with the world. And this conversation is kind of acceptable from Canada. We need to try to correct each other and try to create this conversation with the government and develop this conversation with the other governments globally. That's extremely important. I know all of you have great idea, fantastic experience, and you're able to enrich this conversation in the pavilion. It's your space. Please support Canada, pioneer of urban SDGs. This is a first priority of collaboration between United Nations, Government of Canada, and the globe. And we believe through this program, we are able to create lots of opportunity to practice. Of course, awareness and creating conversation is extremely important, but we want to do some practice. Urban Economy Forum have a very great network of cities, but in this meeting, we try to bring different audience from different scale, from university, from college, from school, from cities, from private sector, from urban activists, professional, and different audience to make sure we are at the correct approach. We need your valuable comments on the concept note. Next step is try to enrich this network. Please, please, please bring your network to the pavilion. Encourage other Canadian organizations to participate. We need this change for Canada and for the globe, but we need to start from here because we're here. We need to start from Regent Park, from Toronto, and then we can extend our network to Canadian cities. During the last night, we had a very great conversation with United States Congress, and they accept to support and create kind of collaboration between a Pavilion and Build Back Better, the major post-COVID plan of United States. I believe we need to do some work in this scale. We need to involve other ministers. We need to bring influential people, and we need to do some things practical today. Tomorrow is late. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that, Reza. And Eduardo, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you to all of you. Extremely interested to hear you. I'm convinced that this is a real collective undertaking. And I can see an addition that becomes a multiplication of positive intentionalities of what we want to do here. All of us, we understand that we need to work together for change, for the possibility of dreaming in a prosperous shared vision, in sustainability, in inclusion, and in women empowerment. And in order to do that, we know that we have the necessary ingredients of success. And many of those were presented here: the space, the communities, the role of the neighborhoods, in fact, the role of the people together, but also the fundamental need of a second P is to protect the planet, the environment that is with us. And it comes with a third P that has to do with all of you. It's the fundamental thing of the partnership. This cannot work without the partnership that all of us we need. And in order to do it, in these tools that I see that we have, data, knowledge, SDGs, best practices, best policies, all these tools bring to the fundamental thing that if we connected well with a higher level, which is some of you representing cities to guide, to support, to steer the development of what we are doing, and to enter into fundamental and creative partnership with the private sector that brings the private sector being so wide, not only housing or real estate, but many other dimensions in which we can include innovation, technology, creativity. It brings support, it brings know-how, and it brings the fundamental also thing of financial and moving together. All this, and I take word from Reza, creates momentum, creates opportunities, and creates the work that we started today. All of us can be pioneering in this process. And we have the repository, the space for that to happen is the pavilion. The pavilion can be the physical place where this collective undertaking for change can be initiated, and we are ready to work together. And perhaps to conclude, Reza and colleagues, that we need soon to move from this intentionality to action plans and action strategies on how we can start working together and finding our own niche and opportunities in this great collective endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. And with that, we will close the meeting. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here today. And we look forward to fruitful collaboration.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Alex. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.